In the far-flung future history of the grimdark 41st millennium, one thing is certain. Everything is broken. Greetings, chromatic warriors! Back again, and this time I wanted to take the opportunity to work on a little bit of battle damage and present it to you. There are a lot of methods out there, and most of them at the core involve just chopping a model to pieces, drilling little bullet holes inside of it, etc. So I wanted to put my own spin on things, of course share the necessary techniques, but also try to create something a little more interesting, a little more advanced. So I've been able to kind of cobble together what I think looks like the armor lifting up off of the model. The idea here is to create a kind of the mountain, or maybe the sturdy oak tree in the hailstorm, just weathering, a barrage of enemy projectiles, possibly covering a retreat, a tactical withdrawal, or possibly knowing that he can stand there and take the damage long enough to weather the storm, just slowly taking out all of the sources of pain as they rain down with their nearly useless weapons upon him. So, having that in mind, I got to work. Let's take a look. In the beginning, there was a sheet of corkboard, one miniature, and one base. First of all, let me give myself a little something to work with. A piece of cork, a generous helping of super glue. Lay that in place, give it a press. And while that's drying, I have an idea that will slowly come together, or perhaps you've seen the thumbnail of the video. I want a piece of scrap kind of bending up in front of the model so I can fit more bullet holes, etc. in the space, make things more dramatic. So I'm just going to take this piece of plastic card and bend it up a little bit. We'll go at it with a fresh X-Acto blade. Just gently spinning the blade around, a light amount of pressure, and it'll slowly work its way through the wreckage. Let's add a few more holes. Not bad. Just gently press at the edges so it's not so uniform. Give me a little more space to work. Not bad. I'll keep just kind of gently working around the edges so things aren't so uniform. Taking away that plain edge, making things look a little more kicked to bits. Okay, this is dry enough. I'm just going to peel away at the edge, smooth things out. Remember, the model will be here, so have things leading up. Okay, let's make a little space for that peg. I could hack it off, or I could build it into the cork. It's soft enough, so I'll just cut away some space. There, he sort of fits. I can always fill in some of the gaps with dirt. Let's see how this plate is going to position itself. I could probably cut away the excess and wedge it in. Let's cut a little groove into the cork. Let's give it a test fitting. That's alright. I think I would like this to slide over a little bit, so I'll just extend this groove. There we go. That's better. Still think it's a little bit too tall. Okay, I think that'll be good. Well enough. Let's add a small amount of glue. Alright, let's talk about battle damage on the model itself. You can see I'm already getting to work. Here and there, just very, very sparingly because it's kind of tricky. I want to dig very deep cracks. You know, like I was saying, I want the armor to appear like it's just kind of like the paint is cracking off of it. Maybe it's coming apart in layers from the heavy damage, but the Marine remains standing tall. Maybe he's got the guts / number of wounds to survive the hail of fire. Pull some cracks in just like that. I'm using a fresh blade. And just make sure I get it in there fine enough and deep enough. Very lightly, making sure to run through that same track that I created. Let's hit it with this lighter sanding stick. That's not too bad. Switch it around and point the blade in the other direction and gently sweep it through. Alright, and then certain places along a lot of these hard edges, essentially just taking a little pie slice out of those areas, just kind of pressing in from one side and then coming at it from the other side. It's very kind of surface level damage, but just creating some irregularity. Let's get a few bullet holes into place. So just start off very gently. Make sure your X-Acto is stuck into the model, and then gently spinning it around. Don't apply too much pressure. You don't want the knife to slide off. You see how I can kind of rotate it around so I get a wider yet still shallow bullet hole. Right here I have a nice chance I can try to carve into the lining on the shoulder pad. Make it look like it's sort of curling away from the lower portion. Careful. You can always just make it look like it's blown away, but hey, that works. Let's give that a soft sanding. Okay, I like that. I'm going to add some more of those, a lot more scratches, bullet holes, and I'll have a look at the next step. And not even the cloak will be spared from the bullet holes. Let's get some holes going all the way through that thin fabric. Alright, this next part is a little experimental. Tried it out once. Decent, but we shall see. Something I can accidentally overdo. So I'll cut some very, very thin plastic card. Just make a little pile of chips. Try to make these as small as you can. Okay, what I have here is a wee bitty pile of chips in my model. I don't overdo it, but let's try putting a small amount of glue right around the bullet hole, or areas of have a little more damage on them. Touch it down like so. Scoop a little bit up on my sculpting tool. Lay it down. Just press it to the surface. That worked okay. Let me just try it a few more times. See, I think the area can be a little overdone. So I want to be careful. It's a little hard to control. Okay, just have to fiddle with it a little bit, try to push it around the bullet hole. Hey, that's nice. Now the chips have had a moment to dry, let's first take the trusty blade, smooth out the edges. See, I'm trying to create some very deep chipped pieces of armor. Just kind of gently hack away at those. And once I'm happy enough with those, I'll go in with my filing stick and just add to the smoothness. You know, before the risk of potentially chipping one of these away if I'm going at it with that hard toothy edge sticking out. That's there. These, you know, they are just tiny flakes of plastic. Look at these filed away. Okay, here's how he's looking. Just kind of checking the final position. He's not attached yet, but yeah, seeing the model something like this, just want to make sure the holes are visible, you know, down here, as pushing up on that a little bit. Yeah, I think it's safe to glue him in place. Now all that's left to do is kind of fill in the blanks, cover up the cork. I'm going pretty simple on this base. Just lay down some super glue, sprinkle some dirt into it. Texture pastes exist, but I'm going at it like this so I can be a little more accurate. I don't want to get any of the paste on the robe. I can gently sort of pile the dirt up like so underneath the bit of blockage. Dab of super glue into it. Voila. I also have some very small, thin pieces of plaster. I'd like to get those involved on the base a little bit. A lot of smashing, a lot of chips involved. I'd like to get some of those in place on the base. This is another advantage of using the super glue. I can, you know, gently push all of those around, drop a little bit of glue onto it. The dry plaster will absorb the glue. Everything stays pretty close to its place. Be careful, just add a little bit at a time. So I'll continue along, just get a few more of these chunks of plaster in place. Daka, Daka, Daka. The loudest gun wins, and the Space Marine has passed a plethora of saving throws. As always, upon completion, I'm filled with many more ideas. I can see how to take this and create a more advanced version or just better looking. This is only my second take at this approach, so I hope that you too have gained a few ideas and some insight into creating this for yourself. There are more materials you could put to use for creating the chips. I could see the chips flying off of the model a little bit further. They could be connected, and perhaps where one chip is missing as it flies off through the air, I could simply freehand a recessed area in the armor where the paint is missing. I don't know about gouging the lines so deeply into the model, but we'll see how that comes out after I paint it. The ideas are always coming and the gears are always turning, so thank you for lubing up my gears. I appreciate your support on Patreon. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, and do please check out my Patreon. We have a lot of fun over there. So until we meet again, my friend, on down that chromatic river, remain unchained.